Hello friends, today I'm so excited to show you vanilla JavaScript routing. It's using the history API to push to the URL, and then you can also remove to go back. So this here is a route, homepage route. We have this outside of the router, which is a component which shows that, which has a local count and a global count. If we go to the form, we have this form here. We also include this other component. I will tidy up the CSS later. You can see here they both have their own local count. The global count is shared on the store. And if we go back home, you can see this. Okay, so also when you go back to the form, the local count loses its state. We can also cache the components as well, so that's things we can explore. But at the moment, this is very, very simple. So if we just refresh the page, and I'll go to the, you'll see here that we load the components. If it sees a component we've already loaded, for example, this one here, this is a component, you will see that it won't load it again from the browser because it's already important. So you just go to the network. So we go to the network tab, we can just go to see what happens. So we load the page, we can see here that we don't have the form and it's lazy loaded. We go to the form and we can see that the form is loaded, but we don't load the number changer component again. Now let's look at the code. So we have our index page, which we're all very aware of, and we just use the same data component for the router. Now we have some conventions in the router, but they're very minimal. So we have this data component router, and even the router's also stored within the components. Now the router component does have a sort of dependency in that it works with a vanilla nav, and it expects that it will look for click events from a data nav, and then it will not, it will prevent default navigating away from the page because we don't want that. So if we go to the router, it's very simple. We basically define our paths here, and that will define what routes to pick up from here. These are ESM modules, just like the other components, except we store them in a special folder called routes, because we're not going to be looking for data component loading them like we do with the components. It just provides a little bit of separation. So they work the same way. You can have logic on them like the other components, and this is the index here. So it's all very, very simple to understand. So in terms of the loading the route, so when we listen to the click event from the data nav, all we do is we prevent the default. We then get the URL from the href and we push to the hist state, and then we load the route. Load route, very simple, same as the component loader. Similar methods, but a bit simpler because it doesn't have to loop through all the objects. So we basically get our path from this array here, this object I mean, and then we import the route, and then we just execute the module, and then we do a little sort of miniature component loader to load any new components within there. And that is pretty much all there is to routing. No dependencies. This is all vanilla JavaScript. In terms of PushState, so when we load the route, we also push to the state, so we can use the back and forward buttons. And so when we press the back button, we know we also just load the previous route. So if I go up here, press back, you can see that works as well. And that is vanilla JavaScript. That is very powerful what we have. No framework, no dependencies. Everything's very nicely cached if you want that. We can do cache bursting later on. So I hope you like that, and let's get away from frameworks and get more power back to the developers. This isn't a project that you'll load up again a few years later and it won't run. You won't have to run node modules install. You can just dump it in a browser and it'll work. In terms of how this works, in terms of the form URL here, the only thing I'm using in the back end pretty much is just the way we're serving it up. All requests go to the index page. So this here, this form URL, we have a server, and it's basically serving up the index HTML each time that we load anything else from there. So even if we do like all this stuff, it won't find the route, but it will load back the actual index, which you should find here. Okay friends, give us a like and a share, and let's start writing code and never have to rewrite it. This is how we do things here. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.